You're listening to E-Commerce Fastlane, Episode 9.
Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
Hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to another episode of E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. If this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show that we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving online with your Shopify store. Now, new episodes are available each week in iTunes, in Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, or you can sign up online at ecommercefastlane.com to be notified when new episodes are published. Now, on today's episode, I'm chatting with Christopher Blockus. Now, he's the technical solutions manager at a platform called Nosto, and they are a Shopify partner. And what they do is they kind of leverage big data to build a deep understanding of your store and every visitor that's kind of interacting with that store. So it's quite interesting. And it's nice then with this data that Nosto can then predict and kind of automatically deliver relevant recommendations, kind of anytime, anywhere recommendations, be it on site or through emails and pop-ups. And I think even through Facebook and Instagram, I think we'll probably chit-chat about that. It's pretty exciting what they can do. It's like literally Nosto helps maximize your conversion rate, your average order value. And, kind of most importantly, it's just building this customer retention on Shopify. So, he's really going to talk about some of these larger challenges that Shopify merchants are facing and just how Nosto and this platform is able to help them solve these problems. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Steve, thanks for having me here on this Friday morning. First off, tell you a little bit about Nosto, give you a little bit of background of kind of what we do and who we are. Nosto was founded back in 2011 in Helsinki, really by kind of a team of retailers and e-commerce software engineers themselves. They spent basically the first few years kind of building out our product to see where we would actually fit into the market, and then kind of make our trajectory towards that. In 2013, we officially launched our first product. And then soon after that, we opened our first international office in London. Today, in 2018, we have a team of over 100 people, 7 different offices all across the globe. So we are still headquartered out in Helsinki, but we do have offices in London, Berlin, Stockholm, New York, LA, and then we recently just opened our most recent opening over in Paris a few weeks ago. And we have about 2,500 of some of the world's leading brands from across the globe using our platform. And, really more or less kind of at the heart of Nosto's solution is this, what we like to say, e-commerce intelligent engine, which really uses kind of advanced machine learning and collaborative filtering to really predict and automatically deliver customers the kind of most relevant shopping experience in real time, wherever they are, like you mentioned earlier. And this is, again, done to kind of increase that customer engagement and to really maximize, revenue potential for, Shopify merchants themselves. I think, what kind of makes us stand out amongst the crowd is kind of a one-click installation. But, I think other than that, Nosto is really solely focused on the e-commerce experience. And, a lot of other companies out there kind of, try to attempt to really solve these problems by using these, CRM-based customer segmentation tools that are, clunky and heavy and hard to deploy to really kind of deliver some sort of level of personalization. And the problem that we've really seen is a lot of these competitors or a lot of these other tools really only look at transactional data, right? And not necessarily behavioral data, which, when doing our research is, typically less than 2% of the data that you can kind of generate from your shoppers by collecting it. Netflix does the same thing. Spotify does the same thing. And more or less what that means is, that a lot of these other segmentation tools or other personalization tools are kind of ignoring a huge amount of, valuable signals that your customers are giving you and that you're able to capture. So, really on top of that, it's just not scalable. You can't create, tens of thousands of segments for different type of customers. And that's where we think Nosto really fits into kind of the Shopify e-commerce ecosystem within itself.
Yeah. No, you know what? And I'm totally in agreement, that, for a store to kind of grow and scale, they really do need to have kind of a personalized kind of user experience. And so are you able to kind of share some kind of new strategies that you kind of see are making a difference with some brands on Shopify?
Yeah, of course. I think one thing that's really been making a huge push I think the past few years is user-generated content, right? And I kind of suggest anybody that's, really in this fashion industry, whether it's, fast fashion, we even have, merchants that are kind of in the, supplement, sector that use these as well. Anybody could use it. It's more personal, it's relatable. Your customers really kind of tend to interact with it, so much more than just those typical, stock photos that you upload into Shopify. It's also, you could use it across different verticals as well. You could use it in social ads, so from Facebook or Instagram. But you could also even go in there and, add those as a secondary image for products, whether that's on site or emails. One thing that we see a lot of Shopify, customers doing is leveraging UGC kind of as a hover over photo for the on-site recommendations. And then what they do is, they kind of show that normal stock photo of the product within itself. And then a lifestyle photo that, they've kind of mapped over from UGC to show and kind of inspire these customers what this product would actually look like, A, in the real world, and, B, possibly, on them.
Yeah, it certainly adds a lot of trust and authority, I say, when you actually have a live person who's actually using the product, has taken a photo versus stock. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think, that's definitely some, it's kind of one of the magic points of UGC in e-commerce, right? Is that, consumers are promoting your brand's products through content that they post on social media rather than the brand itself. And it gives you some sort of trust and rapport with those customers. And that really is kind of a huge win for those retailers. For two reasons. One, like you just mentioned, right? Customers trust other consumers. 88% of them wind up turning to peers for recommendations. I know before I purchase, any sort of large product, I ask anybody in the office, have they ever purchased this before? Do they know anybody that's, purchased it? And it's, kind of a way for you to give those customers online that may not have that opportunity, that are buying at the spur of the moment, that you want to capture before they bounce from the site, to actually look at that UGC and say, oh, wow, look, these are how these customers use this, or this is how it looked on them. And I think the other, part of that is it's a huge time saver, right? It's an effortless, content creation win. Brands can really leverage that content, that's created by their own customers, build rapport with new ones. And there's really, minimal lifting on their part. And I think that's, a great time saver. There's a lot of UGC providers out there. I think, in Nosto, speaking of Nosto, we've decided to partner with 460 and Olaplex. And those are great companies. If you're looking to kind of leverage any of that UGC out there, definitely, suggest taking a look at any of them. But when we've decided to partner with them, we're now able to kind of bring the, ability to leverage that UGC content through our one-click integration in Shopify. And, by syncing that kind of quality social media images from your audience, to on-site recommendations or Facebook or Instagram ads, you can really kind of, enhance that look and the feel of the product offering. And like you said before, it all ties back into, building that rapport, building that trust with those customers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I have read, quite a few case studies and stuff, that have helped my clients and my merchants and stuff kind of utilize the power of user generated content. So I know it definitely works, and it's definitely a must have for most brands. So let's say that organically or through paid acquisition that, I'm growing new visitors to my site. So my traffic is going up. So how do I kind of maintain or ideally improve my conversion rate now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, hey, that's a great problem to have, right, Steve? Right? Hey,
Yeah.
your traffic's going up. That's a great thing. So, I typically never suggest kind of these, one prong or one size fits all approach. Every customers or every Shopify merchant's, customers are going to be a little bit different, right? So, it's really kind of taking this multi-tier approach from Nosto's perspective. And what I'm going to say, I think, really kind of applies to merchants that are kind of growing their store and they're increasing that traffic drastically. And it also really works for, holiday periods as well. So, a lot of our merchants have, a lot of seasonality. They expand during, the Christmas timeframe, but even some of the other ones, like swimwear during this time, right? This is kind of their season. So any of these kind of, tips would really work in any of these type of scenarios. I think Nosto's real specialty here is kind of the on-site personalization, right? And, kind of leveraging all of that machine learning and big data that we collect on-site to kind of put in front of your customers the most accurate recommendations possible. So that's always going to be kind of my first approach. And I would say kind of, really mirror something like Netflix does, right? On the homepage of your site. I think, when I got into e-commerce, maybe 10, 15 years ago, we like to say that content's king, right? But I think more and more today, we really see merchants kind of bravely abandon that notion and really focus more on kind of personalizing that customer's experience right from the start. Just like I mentioned that Netflix does. And as you know, right, Netflix uses data to kind of track what you've watched, what you like, what you buy, things like that. And e-commerce merchants can kind of use that similar technology to track what customers buy, what they cart, what they like, and then make those relevant on-site recommendations. And more or less what I would suggest is something on the homepage, recommendation block that's kind of related to that customer's browsing history, but then really exclude products that customer's already viewed because they didn't convert on them anyway. So why put those back in front of them?
Right.
In another recommendation block, you could want to kind of showcase specific products that perhaps you wanted to promote. So again, if you're, kind of this swimwear company, right, what you might want to do is always make sure that you have this, new line of products that you pushed out into that recommendation block to kind of get some traction, going towards those products that you actually wanted to promote. And that's something that, Nosto kind of does automatically with Shopify, where we can actually push products into a recommendation block within a simple one-click setting. And you really just kind of select the days that you wanted to showcase those products in there. You could even, go ahead and leverage, any sort of reviews. So if you're using something like Yotpo, where your customers could leave reviews on your site, Nosto is able to actually filter the products that you recommend. So maybe you wanted to pick products that only had a 4 or 5 star rating. So some of your, most reviewed products to the front of that recommendation block. That's going to be, the first step there. I think the next step would really, again, be those, social ads. So Facebook and Instagram ads, make sure you're setting up those post-purchase campaigns, to show customers that it's still not too late to buy those items that they were looking at, but didn't actually purchase. Maybe it was money at the time. Maybe they were, unsure of the product and they were kind of sitting on the fence. But make sure that you kind of acknowledge their journey and thank them for, spending their hard-earned money with you, and getting them back to the site all within itself. I think, considering so many people, spend such a large amount of time on the phone or on the computer, I know I do it myself. It makes a lot of sense to kind of use that data that you've collected on those customers, whether it's their history, their previous purchases, and then target them on those channels that they're on the most, social media. So I think that's one part of it, but I think, just launching social media ads doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to work, right? What you want to do is you want to change your copy in the ads every so often, keep customers engaged, keep them on their toes. Maybe, you wanted to add like a free shipping code in there or a promotion into the copy to kind of create this greater sense of urgency, right? Like free shipping this weekend only, act now.
Yeah, and one thing I found quite successful too with Facebook ads and even the remarketing part of Facebook ads is I really find that the customer's journey is different. If they were visiting the homepage, maybe it's a different sort of ads if you went homepage only, or if you went to a collection page, or maybe you actually went to the cart and actually added something to the cart. So I find that interesting that we find the most engagement by having different kind of ads in different kind of segments of customers based on the journey that they have gone down as far as from a social ad perspective.
Yeah, no, I would, completely agree with you there, Stephen. And I think that's why it's important to kind of, leverage that data that's collected on those customers in any of those dynamic product ads on Facebook or Instagram. Because, right, what you don't want to do is just show those customers best-selling products, right? They may already bought that product. That maybe your best-selling product doesn't speak to them as a customer. Right. So I think it's on us, from kind of that social advertising perspective, to really make sure that we're personalizing that whole journey within itself.
Definitely. And then so we've talked about the on-site part of it, and then social ads. I think it's part. Now, another big one that's super important is email. And so how does email fit in this equation?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I'll kind of, mirror a little bit of what I said about, right, the Facebook ads. What you really want to do is make sure that these emails are kind of journey specific triggered emails that you're sending, right? So whether it's a post-purchase email, maybe it's a we miss you email, right? Where you send an email to a customer that hasn't been to the site in 30 or 90 days, right? Depending on your kind of buying cycle. But what I think is really important is to kind of personalize the emails that you're sending to them. And this can be done with, personalized widgets in those emails. And that really kind of, helps to acknowledge the fact that, again, like I said, they've spent their hard-earned money with you. And, perhaps, sending them a triggered email with, that kind of, we miss you, come back to the store, providing a discount code, really kind of speaks to help build that rapport with your customers as well. I also think, any of those emails are kind of, like I mentioned, a great time to, really focus on those loyal customers and incentivize them to buy again. Things to that nature. I think, all too often what marketers think that they're going to do is kind of send these emails that have best-selling products in there. People are going to open them and be, automatically inspired by them. And that's just not necessarily the case. What you need to do is put products that those customers have shown interest in. So maybe it's products that, customers have added to the cart but didn't purchase. Maybe it's a product that customers viewed, 2 or 3 times, things to that nature. And, you also want to be sending them the same products in every single email. So you don't want to have the same products in, a new customer email that you have in a post-purchase email, right? In a post-purchase email, what you want to do is show them products that are related to what they purchased, or products that other customers that bought the product they just purchased have also purchased at some point down the road. I think that, it's important, again, like I mentioned, to kind of, acknowledge where they're at in their buying journey with these emails, because you have to build that rapport with them. I heard somebody say to me once, and I'm going to use the quote, I'm going to take it from them here. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Customers aren't going to give you your business in a day. And by simply sending them an email, it's not necessarily a guarantee. So I think it's really about, building that rapport in those emails and making sure that everything really focuses on the journey and where they're at in their buying process.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I think the last thing that I really wanted to talk about was pop-ups. I know that it's kind of like a touchy subject for some people. Some people find it extremely invasive. A lot of, fashion retailers feel that it's not necessarily on brand. They may not want to provide a discount because it kind of, cheapens the brand image and things to that nature. I'm not saying by any means deploy 10 different pop-ups to the same customer. Right. I think what you have to do is think about where it makes most sense to offer those discounts. Right. I think one thing that I always suggest is, running these, I mentioned before, with kind of running these post-purchase campaigns, right. Or running visitor retargeting campaigns with Facebook. What I've seen work really well is to trigger a pop-up when a customer comes from a paid ad back to the site. Specifically like a post-purchase ad, right? So you have somebody that goes to the store, they purchase a product, maybe 2 or 3 days later they get served an ad from your store, they click on it, they go to the site, and then a pop-up pops up thanking them for being a loyal customer, thanking them for coming back, and then providing some sort of discount in order to create that really quick conversion. And I think that's not necessarily cheapening the brand by any means, because you're really kind of building that loyalty within a customer. And I think in today's ecosystem, a lot of or most customers could wind up finding a product that they want or are satisfied with on a variety of different stores. So I think it's important to kind of incentivize those repeat customers, especially if they're coming back to the store in such a short amount of time as well.
Mm-hmm. And you also hear, even my merchants talk about it a lot. They say that, it's much more cost efficient to kind of maintain the existing customers that I do have, just the lifetime value, than it is to go out and acquire new customers.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think, I know we've kind of went over Facebook a little bit earlier. I think, if you're a Shopify merchant that's, doesn't have, tons of money to kind of throw at social media, whether it's Facebook ads or Instagram ads, because I know they are, expensive, kind of pay to play. What I would really focus on are those existing customers. Like you mentioned, acquiring new customers is much more expensive. But if you do have that, some of that extra money to kind of, wind up spending, if you are going to run those kind of, acquisition campaigns, typically what I'd suggest is kind of, doing that on a Friday or at the end of the month, typically when most people wind up getting paid. We've seen that launching those ads, around that time frame, really creates a better return on ad spend there.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. It's making me think a bit. It's like, I've read a handful of articles, and I'm sure we all have read a handful of articles about, about this sort of thing. And I know you've shared some great information today, to our listeners. But if someone really wants to get involved, like kind of in this personalization, this one-to-one marketing and machine learning, we talked about a lot of things today, like for their website, how does Nosto kind of fit into this mix?
Yeah, of course. So thanks for the opportunity to give me a little bit of a shameless plug there, Steve. Nosto is how do I put it, is platform agnostic. So we work with just about any, platform out there. I think the one thing that really is a differentiator, specifically with Shopify is we've built a solution to kind of ensure that the deployment is fast, it's risk-free. Unlike a lot of other solutions out there, it doesn't require this complicated back-end integration, which carries a lot of technical risks, developers, man hours. Maybe it involves getting your SI or your agency involved with this. And we've kind of bypassed all of that. And we have this quick one-click installation in the Shopify App Store that kind of deploys our solution instantly. And we start collecting data on your customers automatically. So I think, in this, day and age where, personalization has really become demanded from most customers, we've tried to make it as merchants want to make it as easy on their customers to find the products that they want. And we want to make it as easy for the Shopify merchants to start collecting that data.
Right. So you've definitely shared some great strategy today, but maybe we can jump into some tactics that maybe some of the listeners can implement right away.
Yeah, of course. Anything specific in mind?
Well, I mean, a lot of things is maybe like is emails, for example. Like, a lot of people talk about like subject lines in emails and stuff, and about maybe how, because it's funny, I had this question recently about, how can I get a better open rate or a click-through rate by subject lines in email?
Yeah, of course. So, Steve, let me ask it. I'm not sure if you're quite like me, so I'm not sure if this is going to backfire. But typically when you wake up in the morning, look at your phone, go through your emails, I'm assuming, see if there's anything that's like a call out to you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm the same way. I typically wake up in the morning, right, feed my dogs, make a cup of coffee, look at my phone. So I think for me, most of the times, when I see an email, it's on a mobile view, right? And, about 54% of consumers out there, that's their first view of the email that you're sending them. Right. So what I would suggest really, it's something that's free, it's easy, you can make this change on the fly. Right now, when you're listening to this, you could actually do it before the podcast ends. Just keep the subject line short and sweet so it's not cut off in the mobile view. So somewhere, between that 20, 30 character mark, so that it's going to fit on a typical, standard smartphone.
Right. Okay, that's a good one. Now, I got more fun questions. I'm just thinking some here. How can a brand kind of stand out amongst other competitors?
Yeah, of course. So I think, I'll continue kind of on that email train there, right?
Okay, sure.
I think, we've taken a look at a lot of data here while building out kind of our solution and our platform. What we found is that less than half of those emails that people wind up receive, right, are relevant and interesting. Mm. And it's those merchants who really use that behavioral data, like I spoke about before, when kind of keeping those conversion rates up when your traffic is expanding, right? It's those merchants who use that behavioral data to speak to their customers with personalized campaigns that are really best apt to drive additional revenue through that channel itself. And you need to start to include that relevancy into your strategy early, like I mentioned, so you have that reputation with your customers. A lot of ESPs out there. Nosto does allow you to personalize any emails that you're going to send. But a lot of ESPs out there do actually offer that as part of their bundle offering as well. So it's not necessarily additional cost if you're using somebody like Dotmailer or Bronto and things to that nature. Something that a lot of those ESPs are kind of already doing. So if you're not doing that, but you do use any of those email service providers, I would definitely reach out to them. See if that's something that you could integrate with quickly. And I think the other thing is, use witty, fun brand copy, right? All too often, I see like the same copy from the same merchants over and over. It's month after month after month. Yeah. They're not using a call to action. It's just, hey, check these products out or see what's new, right? Like, that's not really inspiring to me. See what's new. Maybe I'm not interested in what's new. So I think it's really kind of, really making sure that you're using that fun, witty, brand copy in either A, ads, and, B, right in those emails that you're going to send as well. Those your customers, and I'm sure too, right? You get tons of marketing emails,
right?
Constantly served ads all over line. And I think, using that, fun, witty brand copy, maybe it's on brand for you to use emojicons, right? Some people have great success with that, especially in like the beauty sector. That vertical, typically using those in subject lines, tend to work really well. So I think those are, some quick, easy ways to, kind of differentiate yourself that don't really cost anything to kind of get up and get going.
Absolutely. I guess just be you and be your brand and your voice and be different.
Yeah, exactly. Be different.
Absolutely. Well, we're nearing the end of the show. So do you have any closing comments that you'd like to leave with our listeners? Yeah,
sure. So, I think I always hear people, suggest, pop-ups, when people go to exit the site and, offering a discount or call to action. And I see no problem with something like that. I mean, I even suggested, the pop-ups a little bit earlier in very specific cases, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not just that simple, right? Your customers aren't that simple. And I think it's really on us to really acknowledge that. And I always like to suggest to merchants that I work with, they should always be trying to speak to their customers on a personal level, right, through their journey. And I think I spoke a lot about, acknowledging their journey, right? And make sure you're doing that on all the touch points as you can. And really put yourself in your customer's shoes. Stop for a second. Think of yourself as a potential customer. Most of our daily experiences are personal, right? So why should that really end when they go online shopping? And personalization, more or less, really kind of become an expectation from those shoppers. And these shoppers, they expect content, they expect ads, they expect everything you can imagine really tailored to them. And it's on us to really ensure that each customer has a unique experience across that journey so that they feel connected to those products that you're putting in front of them. Because at the end of the day, it's really about the connection that they feel to the product that's going to wind up creating that conversion for your store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way to end the show. I totally agree with you. Chris, thanks again for coming on. It's just like you've dropped a lot of knowledge bombs today, and I know the listeners can have a lot of great takeaways that they should implement. So how can they learn more about Nosto?
Yeah, of course. You can go to the Shopify admin, go click on apps, visit the Shopify app store, just type in Nosto, Nosto, add it to your store. You can also reach out to us on our contact page at www.nosto.com. Again, Nosto. Or you can also visit ecommercefastlane.com/Nosto, and you'll take a look for a special promotion for all of our listeners there.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you kindly for that. And Chris, thanks for coming on the show, and have yourself a great day.
Yeah, you too. Take care, Steve.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation today with Nosto. It's incredible how they're able to analyze the unique browsing and buying behaviors of every visitor to your Shopify store. And, really building kind of almost an individual customer profiles and then displaying the most relevant products across your site, like all in real time. Like Nosto really learns your customers' kind of likes and dislikes and kind of enables you to kind of deliver kind of automated and personalized recommendations. They really do make the shopping journey kind of more personal and more inspiring. And, the old adage is true that happy customers mean more repeat visits, higher average order sizes, and, most importantly, more sales. That's what we all want. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could take 5 minutes and download and subscribe the show on iTunes and then rate and review the show. It's one of the best ways that you can kind of show your appreciation kind of for the continued production of the show. And, thanks for being a supporter and a loyal listener. I really do appreciate it. Now, if you tune in next week, my guest is Mike Potter from Rewind. And, we discuss the kind of the misconceptions of cloud-based software like the Shopify platform and some of the challenges that store owners can face kind of in regards to their data and, the day-to-day operations of running an e-commerce store. It really is a very eye-opening episode, so please don't miss this one. It's time to protect your brand. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy day or your commute and listening to the show. I truly appreciate you and your desire to kind of level up your skills and your knowledge with e-commerce and with Shopify. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week and take care.